Verona, Italy, late 14th century. This is a setting in which two households, the Montagues and Capulets, fought. These two families gave birth to one child each. These children were said to be fated lovers. The two lovers' story has been something of a long dispute in recent times. Many people want clear explanations and answers. Since the feud of this family is said to be a major culprit in this situation, I'm determined to find out the influence of the lovers' family relationships. Hello everyone, welcome to the Dead Poets Podcast. Today I'm joined by two special guests, Alfred Chino and Romeo Montague.
Hi. Hey.
Alright gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about the influences that family had in Romeo and Juliet's life. Alfred and Romeo, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm here today as I have deeply understood the relationship between Romeo and Juliet and the effects that family had on both of their lives.
As you all may know, I am Romeo Montague from Verona, Italy, husband of Juliet.
So Romeo, how would you describe your relationship with Juliet? Do you think your love was fate?
My relationship with Juliet was, well, quite a roller coaster of events and emotions. I say that Juliet was my one true love, and we had a deep love for each other, which our parents could not understand. I would say it was fate.
Sorry, Romeo, but I would like to interrupt. This was clearly not by fate. You and Juliet had rushed this relationship far too quickly.
Who are you to judge?
Gentlemen, calm down. This is not what we're here to do. Let's get into the topic. Can you both describe the feud between the Montagues and Capulets?
Well, you see, my family has fought the Capulets for as long as I can remember. The feud has affected my life in many aspects. My love life, my companions, and the people I was surrounded by.
Yes, I believe that the feud between the two families has caused a great distraught within Romeo and Juliet's lives. I would like to add that this feud has been going on since ancient times. As a result of this, Romeo and Juliet were never allowed to be lovers nor companions, let alone speak to one another.
Romeo, how do you think your parents felt after the discovery of your relationship?
They were definitely shocked, as neither I or Juliet had told our parents about our relationship, for obvious reasons.
I have to add that they were not only shocked or concerned, but better yet, felt betrayed by their children, as they had been lied to, backstabbed even.
We tried our best to make sure that everyone would not be harmed by our decisions.
I could say otherwise. Death, despair, disrepair.
Sorry, but I have to interrupt you, Alfred. For the sake of this gathering and time, we must get back onto topic. So, gentlemen, what was the effect that both of the families had on this relationship? Let's start with Juliet's.
I feel as though Juliet's family was more of an influence over this relationship for many different reasons. The two lovers met through a party that was hosted by the Lord Capulet to start. Juliet's nurse, a member of the Capulets, was the one who was sent out by Juliet to get the couple married.
There was only Juliet's cousin, Tybalt, who was certainly a fugal force in this situation. He slew one of my good friends, and I couldn't let him get away with it, so I took his life as well.
If not for the slaughter of Tybalt, Romeo would have never been exiled from Verona, and his relationship with Juliet would not have ended in the way that it did. This is a great example of how family was a challenge in this relationship.
Great. Now that we've discussed Juliet's family, how do you two think Romeo's family influenced this relationship?
Well, I don't believe that my family was a major influence on this relationship, but rather the Montagues as a whole. My cousin Benvolio tried to keep the peace between the two families, and this would have worked in the my relationship with Juliet. My friend Mercutio, who was slewed by Tybalt, instigated issues with Tybalt, which arose tensions between the families.
I agree. There isn't much more to the Montagues than that.
How does the absence of parental consent harm relationships?
Well, I believe that without parental consent, many children are faced with uncertainty and misguidance. In the case of Romeo and Juliet's relationship, this is clearly shown by the haste and uncertain decisions that the two made behind their parents' back.
I agree with Alfred here. Juliet and I were uncertain about how things would turn out with our relationship, and the lack of consent led us to rely on people other than our parents, like Friar Lawrence and Juliet's nurse. These influences only aided in our thinking, rather than guiding us along for a more reasonable path.
I would just like to add that those who knew of Romeo and Juliet's relationship never mentioned any consequences that may occur due to their relationship, and the masking of their marriage or love. These figures stood and watched as bloodshed occurred and saw how things could go terribly wrong.
I see. So there isn't a clear side to blame in this situation. It was just the hastily and foolish decisions that the two lovers made while trying to justify their untimely love, as well as the unjustified actions of those who supported them along the way.
Correct.
So it would seem.
Do you believe that the cons of the influences outweighed the pros?
In my opinion, the pros and cons were both equally influential. The pros created a love story. The cons ripped us apart.
So, to conclude our gathering here today, how was Verona and all of the members in the Capulet and Montague families affected?
Today, Verona mourns the loss of all those who have lost their lives to the feud. Many of these lives would not have been lost if not for the love of Romeo and Juliet. The absence of family support and the influence of the two households have led to the ultimate demise of those who they hold very close to their hearts. Even if intentions were right, the outcome was bitter.
I suppose all of this is true. If both of our families had known about our relationship and had not been in a feud, things would have ended much differently, possibly for the better in many ways.
Well, thank you for joining me today, gentlemen.
Glad to be here.
My pleasure.